5:43 a.m. Chicago's skyline rises against the cold, indigo sky, steel and glass reflecting the earliest hints of sunlight. The streets are empty, save for the occasional taxi whose tires hum softly on wet asphalt. You can hear it before you see it, the echo of a distant train moving along the tracks near the river. Fog drifts lazily across the Lake Michigan shoreline, curling around piers and docks like a ghostly veil. Seagulls glide low, their cries cutting through the quiet, but even they seem hesitant to wake the city fully. The air carries the sharp tang of the lake, a mix of water and earth and something almost metallic. It's the kind of morning that makes you slow down without thinking about it. You step onto the pavement, boots tapping lightly, and notice the subtle rhythm of the city waking in silence. Streetlights flicker and fade, revealing walls of murals that seem almost invisible during the night. Someone's broom scrapes against concrete in the distance. The scent of fresh bread drifts faintly from a bakery somewhere beyond the corner. You take a deep breath, and it's more than air, it's Chicago itself, condensed into a single, vivid moment. You follow the sound of the river, footsteps echoing off steel bridges and shadowed underpasses, and the city opens itself to you slowly. Each turn brings a new perspective. The water lapping quietly beneath the train tracks, a lone cyclist cutting through the fog, the subtle hum of engines warming in the garages of early commuters. The skyline looks different from here, softened by morning haze, almost intimate. By 6:10, the sun has begun its climb, igniting the windows of towering skyscrapers with streaks of gold and amber. The reflection of light dances across the surface of the river, shimmering as if the city itself were breathing. You watch as a barge cuts through the calm water, leaving a wake that ripples into gentle waves lapping at the shoreline. The city sounds grow slowly, distant horns, footsteps, and a low murmur of voices carried from nearby cafes opening for their early patrons. You grab a coffee from a small corner shop, the warmth seeping into your hands, and take a moment to watch the city fully awaken. Delivery trucks trundle down the streets, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. Street musicians start to appear on corners, tuning instruments and murmuring quietly to themselves. The air smells of roasted coffee beans and freshly baked pastries, mingling with the crisp bite of lake air. It's ordinary yet extraordinary, the familiar energy of a city poised between stillness and motion. And then, you leave the city behind, turning onto the open road. The highway stretches out like a ribbon, fading into fields and forests that glint with the first light. The skyscrapers shrink behind you, replaced by endless patches of green, the occasional farmhouse, and lakes that mirror the sky in perfect clarity. The engine hums steadily beneath you. Wind brushes across the car, carrying with it scents of damp soil, pine, and distant wildflowers. The city feels like a dream now, a backdrop to a larger story that begins on the road. Each mile brings anticipation. You pass small towns where main streets lie quiet, where painted signs and vintage storefronts tell stories you'll never fully hear but can sense. A water tower rises above the horizon, bright against the early morning light. Cornfields sway in gentle waves, and a lone cyclist passes, nodding silently, almost as if acknowledging that you're a fellow wanderer. The road curves around a river, reflecting the soft sunrise, and for a moment, time seems to slow. There is a rhythm here, not like the pulse of the city, but something slower, natural, and profound. You notice the small details. The way mist hovers above the river in patches, the faint rustle of leaves in the trees lining the road, the calls of birds moving through the fields. It's a world of motion and quiet simultaneously, and your presence here feels like stepping into a secret the city could never offer. You realize that the adventure hasn't begun yet. The true discovery is ahead, over hills, beyond rivers, through towns you've never seen. And yet, there's a quiet tension in the air, a sense of promise. The unknown waits around every curve of the road. What will you find when the morning fog lifts completely? When the sun rises higher, and the world opens fully to the road? By 7:15 a.m., the skyline has vanished behind you, replaced by a stretch of open highway that seems endless. The sun now climbs higher, washing the asphalt in warm gold, and the wind through the partially open window carries scents of dew-drenched fields and pine forests. The road curves gently, leading past rolling hills dotted with small farms, barns painted red and white, and weathered fences leaning with age. Each mile offers a new frame, a new story silently unfolding as you drive. The towns you pass feel untouched by time. A diner on a corner serves pancakes and coffee to early risers, its neon sign flickering in a rhythm like a heartbeat. Children walk slowly to school, backpacks swinging, their laughter muted against the hum of passing cars. A small river snakes through a valley, its surface gleaming like a mirror, reflecting clouds and the occasional heron lifting off with quiet grace. You slow down instinctively, letting the car drift along the curves, drinking in the view, feeling a strange intimacy with the landscape. Around mid-morning, the trees become taller, denser, pockets of forest that hide trails and creeks just out of sight. A narrow, unmarked road appears, and instinctively, you take it. It leads to a small trailhead where mist rises from the ground, clinging to ferns and fallen leaves. The air smells of wet earth and moss, rich and alive. You park the car, stepping onto the path barefoot in spirit, listening as birds dart through branches, a woodpecker knocking rhythmically against bark. The forest seems endless, a sanctuary untouched by human noise. Here, the adventure begins to feel real. The first footsteps on a trail, the first glimpses of a hidden lake, the rush of cold water over rocks, it all awakens a sense of wonder that the city never quite gives. You hear a distant waterfall before you see it, its voice calling across the trees. When it finally appears, sunlight breaks through the canopy, splashing silver across the tumbling water. Mist rises, catching in your hair, refreshing like a secret meant only for those willing to leave the road. As you continue, each stop tells a story. A forgotten farmhouse, windows boarded but garden overgrown with wildflowers. An old bridge spanning a narrow creek, perfect for pausing and listening. Birds, squirrels, and deer move through this landscape with unhurried grace, oblivious to the passing car. The rhythm of life here is slow, deliberate, a stark contrast to the pace of Chicago. You notice your breathing matches the pace of the forest, long and deep, as if your body itself remembers how to move in open spaces. Lunch is a small, roadside cafe where locals gather. You order a sandwich, but the real feast is the people watching. Farmers with calloused hands laugh over coffee, a grandmother fusses over a child's ice cream dripping onto a table, a mechanic wipes his hands on a rag and waves at a passing car. Conversations drift, snippets of accents and slang revealing the character of this region. It's easy to forget that this is part of a weekend trip. Here, time stretches and folds, and the road is both a path and a pause, a connector between adventure and reflection. By early afternoon, you reach a small lake tucked behind a curve in the highway. Its surface is perfectly still, reflecting the sky in pale blue and white. A few kayaks float lazily near the shore, paddlers barely making a sound. You step onto a dock, feet scraping wood, feeling the vibration of water under your hands. The quiet is profound, broken only by the occasional splash of a fish or the gentle whisper of wind. You realize this is the reason you came. Not just to move, but to find spaces where motion and stillness meet, where discovery is both external and internal. The road calls again. You pack up, leaving the lake behind, but the memory lingers in the back of your mind, a quiet anchor. As the car moves through curves and over hills, the sun climbs higher, glinting through trees and across open fields, each scene a reminder that the Midwest holds pockets of unexpected beauty. You imagine where the next turn might lead, a hidden waterfall, a forest trail, a small town with stories etched into brick and paint. The adventure is not in a single destination but in the journey itself, the unfolding narrative written in wind, light, and motion. And yet, for all the beauty and openness, there's an underlying sense of curiosity. What hidden places remain just beyond your line of sight? Which roads are waiting to lead to moments you cannot predict? The highway stretches endlessly, inviting, and you feel a quiet thrill, the kind that comes only when the world seems boundless, and every mile is a promise. By late afternoon, the main highway has faded behind you, replaced by narrow country roads flanked with fields that stretch farther than the eye can see. Signs of human life are subtle here, a mailbox, a weathered fence, a lone bicycle leaning against a barn. The sun leans low in the sky, painting everything in amber, and shadows stretch lazily across the landscape, giving the world a quiet, contemplative edge. You pull into a small town that seems untouched by modern urgency. Main Street is narrow, lined with brick buildings whose faded signs tell of shops that have stood for generations. The scent of baking bread wafts from a local bakery, mingling with the subtle earthy aroma of freshly tilled fields beyond the town's edge. A small cafe hums quietly, not with tourist chatter, but the genuine rhythm of locals sharing stories over coffee and pie. You step inside, feeling the warmth and the familiarity of a place where every face is a story. The owner greets you with a nod, a smile that doesn't need words. Wooden floors creak underfoot as you find a corner by the window. Outside, Children chase each other along the sidewalk, their laughter ringing clear and uncomplicated. A man walks his dog, pausing to wave at neighbors, exchanging greetings that feel like a ritual rather than obligation. Every gesture, every glance, every subtle sound speaks of a life that moves slower, richer in human detail than any skyline could convey. You wander through the streets, camera tucked away, letting your senses guide you. Murals on brick walls depict local history, harvest festivals, the town's founders, a forgotten parade from decades past. A small antique shop beckons, dusty windows revealing objects that have survived generations, porcelain dolls, faded photographs, weathered books. A leather-bound journal lies open, yellowed pages filled with the handwriting of someone long gone. You imagine the lives intertwined with these objects, quiet stories hidden beneath the surface. Waiting for discovery, a local farmer invites you to a small market behind the town square. Fresh vegetables glisten in the late sunlight, jars of preserves line wooden shelves, and the hum of conversation is gentle but persistent. You taste honey straight from a comb, crisp apples picked that morning, and homemade bread still warm. The experience is intimate, a reminder that the places we seek are often measured not by landmarks, but by the people who call them home. Each interaction, each smile, each story adds depth to the journey, layering memory upon memory. The small town isn't just a stop along the way, it's a revelation of everyday beauty. You notice details previously overlooked. The way light filters through stained glass windows in the old church, the squeak of a rocking chair on a porch, the rhythm of footsteps on cobblestone. There is poetry here in simplicity, in the ordinary, and it resonates more deeply than any curated tourist attraction. You linger, understanding that this is a side of travel often missed, the quiet humanity that turns a map location into an unforgettable experience. As the sun dips further, golden light spilling over rooftops, you follow a narrow dirt path leading behind the town. It winds along a creek, over a small wooden bridge, and into a grove of ancient trees. The air is cooler here, scented with damp earth and pine needles. Birds call softly, hidden in the foliage. A fox darts across the path, pausing long enough to glance at you before vanishing into the shadows. These moments feel delicate, fleeting, as if the town itself is revealing its secrets only to those who truly listen. Evening approaches, and the horizon glows with deep orange and violet. Street lamps flicker on, casting pools of light onto the sidewalks. You pause, looking back at the town from the ridge above, its quiet charm nestled among the sprawling fields. There is a realization here. Adventure isn't just about speed, thrill, or distance. It's about uncovering layers of life, seeing what is often ignored, feeling what is usually missed. The town, the people, the hidden paths, all leave a mark on the journey, a depth that no guidebook could capture. And yet, as the shadows lengthen, a sense of anticipation creeps in. Beyond this town lie forests, rivers, and small lakes waiting for exploration. What hidden trails, undiscovered overlooks, or secret moments await on the next turn of the road? The quiet town has shown its face, but the journey is far from over. The road stretches ahead, whispering promises of new stories, new discoveries, and the thrill of the unexpected. By early evening, the road narrows, flanked by dense forests and rolling hills that rise and fall like gentle waves frozen in time. The sun hangs low, burning the sky in shades of crimson, pink, and violet. Shadows stretch long across the asphalt, and the wind carries the faint scent of pine, wildflowers, and distant earth. Each bend in the road feels like a deliberate reveal, as if the landscape itself wants you to notice, to pause, to breathe it in fully. You leave the small towns behind, the quiet streets giving way to open vistas. A valley unfolds before you, dotted with lakes that catch the light in glimmering patches, as if the sky had fallen into the earth. Your car hums along the curves, tires brushing against leaves and dust stirred by the fading day. There is a sense of anticipation in the air, the kind that comes when you are on the threshold of discovery, when the familiar recedes and something vast, untamed, begins to dominate the senses. Along the roadside, wildflowers sway in the evening breeze, vibrant and unassuming. Birds fly low, calling to one another, their wings catching the fading sunlight in flashes of gold. The hum of the engine blends with natural sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of a stream, the quiet crunch of gravel under tires when you slow for a bend. Every detail matters now. The curve of a hill, the reflection of clouds in water, the movement of shadows across the terrain. The world feels larger, more alive, more immediate. Suddenly, a hidden trail appears, barely marked, winding up a hillside. You turn onto it, feeling the anticipation rise. The car climbs steadily, the path narrow but manageable, and as you ascend, the forest opens up in pockets. Shafts of light cut through the trees, illuminating moss-covered rocks and delicate ferns. The air grows cooler, richer, scented with damp soil and pine resin. With each mile, the city, the towns, the asphalt, everything recedes further, leaving only the raw, unfiltered presence of the landscape. At the summit, the view is breathtaking. The valley below stretches endlessly, lakes and rivers interlacing like veins through the earth. Hills roll toward the horizon, dotted with forests and open meadows. The sky is a living painting, the sun now a molten orange disk dipping behind the farthest ridge. It's a moment of stillness and revelation, a perspective shift that turns the journey inward as much as outward. You realize that the road has led you here not just geographically, but emotionally. You feel the scale of the world, the smallness of the self, and the quiet exhilaration of discovery. You step out of the car, letting the wind whip against your face. It carries the scent of freedom, of distance traveled, of roads less known. The silence is profound, broken only by the distant cry of a hawk circling above. You take a slow walk along the ridge, each step deliberate, each breath connecting you to the landscape. You notice small details. Lichens clinging to rock, the faint ripple of a lake far below, the movement of deer grazing in a clearing. It is a landscape that demands attention, and in turn, it transforms how you see your journey. As dusk deepens, shadows lengthen, and colors deepen into indigo and soft violet. The horizon seems infinite, a reminder that adventure is as much about space as it is about perception. The path ahead remains unknown, winding trails, unmarked roads, hidden waterfalls, and secluded lakes all waiting to be explored. And in this moment, you realize that the true turning point of travel isn't a single location. It's the expansion of perspective, the way the road reshapes your sense of possibility, making you aware of the immense world beyond the familiar streets of Chicago. The first stars begin to appear, delicate pinpricks against the twilight, and you understand that the day is ending but the journey is not. What unseen wonders lie ahead in the darkness? Which small roads, lakes, or towns will greet you with their quiet charm tomorrow? You feel the thrill of the unknown pulse beneath your skin, the pull of adventure both outward and inward, and the undeniable magic of moving through a world that always has more to reveal. Night has not yet fully fallen, but the twilight lingers, casting a muted glow over the landscape. You've left the ridge behind and follow a narrow trail toward a hidden river, its course marked only by the whisper of moving water and the occasional ripple reflecting fading light. The forest is alive in ways you hadn't noticed before, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the rustle of small creatures moving unseen, the low hum of insects beginning their nocturnal chorus. Every sound feels amplified, each moment more vivid because the world around you has quieted, leaving only the raw sensations of movement and breath. The first crossing of the river tests your senses. A fallen log bridges the water, slick with moss, and you pause to assess your steps. Your heartbeat quickens, part from the thrill of balance, part from the awareness of being alone, fully immersed in the environment. Each careful footfall sends a small vibration through the log, the sound merging with the gurgle of water beneath. On the other side, a clearing opens, revealing a cluster of boulders bathed in the soft glow of twilight. Here, the land seems to pulse with energy, ancient and unyielding, yet intimate, almost welcoming to those willing to explore. You climb the boulders slowly, fingers brushing rough stone, feeling the tactile history embedded in their surface. From the top, the river glints in fractured light, winding through valleys and meadows below. The forest stretches endlessly, broken only by occasional clearings that hint at hidden trails or past wanderers. A hawk sweeps silently across the sky, shadow passing over the trees like a fleeting specter. This is the kind of discovery that makes the journey visceral, a reminder that adventure is not just movement, but connection, an awareness of the living world around you. From the clearing, a narrow path leads toward a hidden waterfall, marked only by the deep, resonant sound of falling water. You move carefully, stepping over roots and stones, alert to every shift of light and sound. And then you see it, water cascading over jagged rocks, sparkling in the last vestiges of sunlight, mist spraying lightly into the air. The smell is intoxicating, cool, clean, alive. You step closer, feeling the mist on your skin, the vibration of water on stone, the pure, unfiltered sound that drowns out thought and fills the mind with presence. This is what the open road promises. Moments that ground you in the absolute now. reminding you that the world's beauty often hides in places least expected. You sit on a boulder near the base of the falls, letting the rush of water fill your senses. The air is damp, smelling of wet moss and earth, and the light shimmers on the river below, fragmented like shards of glass. Around you, the forest breathes, wind through leaves, distant animal calls, the faint crack of a branch underfoot. Each second stretches, an unspoken invitation to notice the unseen, to linger in a moment that would vanish if ignored. This is the heartbeat of adventure, the pulse that transforms a weekend trip into a memory etched deep into consciousness. As night begins to settle, the sky darkening into deep navy, you start a quiet hike back toward the car, guided by fading light and instinct. Stars begin to pierce the darkness, faint and scattered, and the moon rises slowly, casting a silver glow across the treetops. The river murmurs behind you, a constant, soothing companion. Every twist in the trail holds possibility. The glint of an owl's eye, the rustle of small mammals, the whisper of leaves overhead. The road has shifted from asphalt to trail, from map to instinct, and yet the same feeling remains. Discovery, wonder, and the subtle thrill of the unknown. By the time you return to the car, headlights cutting through the dark, the world feels expanded. The adventure has taken you from city streets to hidden waterfalls, from small towns to untouched forest trails, and each step has reshaped your understanding of possibility. The open road is no longer a path on a map but a series of experiences, moments, and realizations. It's a reminder that the heart of exploration lies not in reaching a destination, but in letting the journey itself reveal the world, and yourself, in ways you could never anticipate. And yet, as you drive back along the winding roads, headlights glinting against dew-covered leaves, a quiet question lingers. What other hidden wonders lie in the corners of this state, waiting for those willing to leave the familiar behind? Adventure isn't over. It never is. The pulse of the road continues beneath your tires, in every bend, every shadow, every whispered secret of the land. Night has settled fully now, yet the memory of sunset still lingers in the sky, a gradient of deep purples and soft oranges bleeding into indigo. Your tires hum along the quiet highway as the distant lights of Chicago glimmer on the horizon, small and steady like a heartbeat. The road feels familiar now, yet every mile is layered with the echoes of everything you've seen: lakes hidden among hills, forests alive with whispering wind, waterfalls cascading with effortless grace. The journey has transformed the landscape into more than scenery. It has become a story stitched into memory, every bend and shadow meaningful. The return through the countryside is calm, almost meditative. Streetlights in small towns flicker as you pass, and windows glow with warm domestic light. The scent of wood smoke drifts from chimneys, blending with the cool night air. Occasionally, a car passes in the opposite direction, its headlights briefly illuminating fields of tall grass that sway in the breeze. Each detail, the rhythm of motion, the patterns of shadow, the subtle pulse of life, reminds you that travel is more than destinations. It's immersion, intimacy, and presence. You think back to the first light over Chicago, that cold morning when skyscrapers caught gold in their steel and glass. The city seems distant now, yet the memory of it frames the trip perfectly, giving contrast to the quiet beauty of small towns, hidden forests, and open roads. The journey is a dialogue between places, between the known and the unknown. You realize that adventure is not about conquering landscapes but about noticing them, letting each one speak in its own way. Somewhere along the last stretch of road, the moon rises high, casting silver light across the asphalt. The forest on either side fades into silhouettes, and the faint sound of the river from earlier in the day drifts into your mind, a reminder of the calm hidden in plain sight. You pull over for a moment, stepping outside the car, letting the night air wash over your face. Stars stretch across the sky, countless and indifferent, yet perfectly placed to evoke wonder. It is in this quiet that you understand the essence of the journey, the balance between motion and stillness, the interplay of anticipation and reflection, the revelation that even a weekend road trip can leave an imprint deeper than expected. Returning to the outskirts of Chicago, the city lights grow brighter, more defined, but your eyes are drawn to what lies between: the stretch of road traveled, the hills and rivers crossed, the towns whose secrets you glimpsed. The adventure lingers not only in memory but in the quiet confidence that comes from exploration, the subtle awareness that the world holds more than maps, GPS directions, or itineraries. Every stop, every twist in the road, every silent forest clearing has added depth to the journey, and in that depth lies the reward: perspective, wonder, and the thrill of discovery. As you finally merge back into the familiar city streets, The quiet adventure feels complete yet infinite. The skyscrapers rise again, reflections of streetlights in glass windows, the distant hum of traffic a reminder of life moving forward. And still, the road whispers. The places you have seen, the hidden waterfalls, the small towns, the forests alive with sound, they remain, waiting for you to return, to explore further, to notice what was missed. The weekend may end, but the journey does not. Every road taken opens countless others, stretching beyond the horizon, promising more stories, more quiet revelations, more moments that transform ordinary hours into something extraordinary. You glance at the rearview mirror, faint traces of sunlight still lingering on the horizon, and understand something quietly profound. Travel is not measured in miles or hours, but in moments that awaken curiosity, expand perception, and connect you to the world in ways the city alone never could. Tonight, you return home changed, your memory enriched, your imagination stirred, and your sense of possibility renewed. The road may be behind you, but its echo carries on, in thought, in breath, in quiet reflection.